Hi everyone and welcome to the Daily Citizen Weekly Update. During our broadcast today, we'll be providing a recap of the inaugural ceremonies that took place just a few days ago, as well as the double standard that seems to exist for many in the media when it comes to covering right versus left. We'll also take a look back at the Trump administration's accomplishments over the last 4 years. On Wednesday, January 20th, Joseph R. Biden was officially sworn in as the 46th President of the United States. Kamala Harris was sworn in as Vice President, which was an historic moment as she is the first woman to ever hold the office of the Vice Presidency. President Biden spoke of unity and ending the uncivil war that he feels exists in our nation.
But the answer is not to turn inward, to retreat into competing factions, distrusting those who don't look like you, or worship the way you do, or don't get their news from the same sources you do. We must end this uncivil war that pits red against blue, rural versus urban, conservative versus liberal.
In the days following President Biden's inaugural address, many conservative politicians and commentators have expressed concern that a double standard exists in the media and on the left, and that calls of unity from President Biden are hypocritical, given his and other Democrats' rhetoric against conservatives during the last 4 years. Time will tell whether or not President Biden will be able to unite a country that is divided along political and cultural lines more than it has ever been in recent history. Since being sworn in just a few days ago, President Biden has issued and signed a number of new executive orders and rescinded dozens more that were created under the Trump administration. What were those orders and how might they impact you? With more on that story, Jeff Johnston.
Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. was sworn in on January 20th as the 46th President of the United States. Like most presidents, he didn't waste any time signing his first executive orders. Before the inauguration, the Daily Citizen published articles about what the Biden-Harris administration was planning. And we've already written about the executive orders he signed in the past few days. Here's a quick look at some of them, many of which reverse Trump administration policies. Biden called for an immediate pause in border wall construction and a halt to funds that were redirected by the Trump administration for that purpose. He repealed the ban on entry into the United States from countries that sponsor terrorism, such as Sudan, Syria, Libya, and Somalia. The president re-engaged with the World Health Organization. President Trump had pulled the U.S. out of the organization after its incompetence was revealed during the fight against the pandemic. The U.S. rejoined the Paris Climate Accord. That agreement was originally entered into by the Obama administration, but President Trump recently completed our withdrawal. He signed an executive order on preventing and combating discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation in all federal agencies. The Biden-Harris administration is also expected to pursue pro-abortion policies like rescinding the Mexico City policy, which prohibits tax dollars from flowing to organizations that promote abortions overseas. He's promised to revoke the tax cuts passed by Trump and to raise corporate taxes. Biden's education department is expected to encourage schools to allow gender-confused students to use bathrooms and locker rooms of the opposite sex. Many of these policies will have a negative impact on life, families, and religious freedom.
Thanks, Jeff. Well, Donald Trump may no longer be the President of the United States, but the actions his administration took over the last 4 years will last far beyond his presidency. Len Stanton has more on former President Trump's greatest accomplishments while in office.
It was certainly not difficult the last 4 years to find news stories of what President Trump got wrong. For many of us, it seemed as if the mainstream media's full-time 24/7 task over the last 4 years was to meticulously catalog every wrong thing he did while in office, no matter how small or petty. But with President Trump and his family leaving the White House to return to private life this week, the Daily Citizen wanted to make sure that we do not miss the substantial gains President Trump, his administration made in the areas that we at Focus on the Family care so deeply about. That's family, sanctity of life, religious liberty, the importance of male and female, the courts, Israel, and of course, peace in the Middle East. So my article this week is a thorough roundup of the Trump administration's substantial accomplishments. When you look at them collectively, it is a genuinely impressive list that will go far to help families and protect life in such a trying age. So we say a deep and sincere thank you to you, President Trump, to your entire family, and your whole administration.
At the top of the broadcast, we told you about the blatant media bias on display during the inaugural, and so now we want to provide some examples. Fox News' Tucker Carlson did an excellent job of recapping some of the worst offenses, which we'll share with you now.
Joe Biden respects government. He respects people who disagree with him. He listens to them.
I think that Joe Biden is going to train us to see the world differently.
He plans to usher in a new era of hope and the action he's promising the minute he takes office.
We've gone from indecency to decency.
He filled that empathy void.
There was not one part of that that wasn't just medicine in the wound.
Those lights that are just shooting out from the Lincoln Memorial along the reflecting pool, it's like almost extensions of Joe Biden's arms embracing America. It was a moment where the new president came to town.
Not much you can say after that. Remember our promise to you. You always get news from us that is fair and accurate, unlike most news sources out there these days. Those are the top stories our team is covering. Be sure to visit thedailycitizen.org for breaking news and updates on the topics we discussed in our broadcast today. Next week, we'll be in Washington, D.C., bringing you coverage of the March for Life, and we hope you'll join us to catch live interviews with prominent leaders of the pro-life movement. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.